There was a time when New York felt like another planet. You could eat a hot meal from a vending machine, ride a train above the streets, and buy a rare jazz record for $1, all before lunch. The city pulsed with noise, grit, and soul. Neon flickered over greasy sidewalks. Artists lived in abandoned factories. And somewhere in the Catskills, families laughed through stand-up comedy nights under starlit skies. But that New York, it's gone. In this video, we're stepping back into a world that no longer exists, but never truly died. These are 12 places, habits, and pieces of old New York that vanished from the map, but not from memory. Some were torn down overnight, others faded with time, and at least one might still be hiding in plain sight. 1. The original Penn Station, a masterpiece lost to progress. There was a time when arriving in New York felt like entering a temple. That time was defined by the original Pennsylvania Station, a Beaux-Arts masterpiece completed in 1910. Soaring ceilings of glass and iron, colossal marble columns. A space so vast and majestic it made you pause. It wasn't just a train station, it was a cathedral of motion. But in 1963, it was reduced to rubble.
The city traded its elegance for expediency. In its place, a soulless maze of concrete and fluorescent lights now stands, functional but forgettable.
The outcry over its destruction was so intense, it sparked the modern preservation movement. Yet for Penn Station, it was already too late. What we lost wasn't just architecture, it was a piece of New York's identity. 2. The Automat, a nickel, a window, and a slice of magic. Imagine this. You walk into a gleaming cafeteria filled with little glass windows. Behind each one, a slice of hot pie, a steaming cup of soup, or a sandwich made fresh that day. No cashier, no wait. Just drop in a nickel, turn the knob, and eat. That was the magic of the Automat. Especially popular were the Horn and Hard Art locations, once scattered across New York like stars in the sky. These futuristic food dispensers democratized dining. Whether you were a factory worker or a businessman, the Automat didn't judge. But by the 1980s, the machines grew quiet. Fast food giants took over, tastes changed, and an entire era of casual elegance in dining faded into memory. What remains is nostalgia for a city that once trusted machines to serve warmth. 3. Freedomland, USA, New York's forgotten Disneyland. For a brief, shining moment in the early 1960s, the Bronx was home to America's history come to life. It was called Freedomland, USA, a sprawling theme park designed to tell the story of the nation, from the Wild West to the space age. You could pan for gold in a frontier town, cruise a replica riverboat, or watch a dramatization of the Great Chicago Fire. It wasn't just entertainment, it was education with flair. But behind the scenes, it was chaos. Financial mismanagement, logistical nightmares, and the rise of Co-op City on the same land spelled its doom. In just 4 years, Freedomland closed forever. Today, few even know it existed. But for a blink in time, New York had its own Disneyland, and then let it slip away. 4. The 3rd Avenue L. Steel and smoke in the sky. Long before the subway tunnels ruled beneath our feet, elevated trains ruled the skies. The most iconic? The 3rd Avenue L, a hulking steel serpent that thundered over Manhattan's east side from the Bowery to the Bronx. Built in the late 1800s, the L was more than a train. It was a soundtrack to daily life. Its rumble meant movement. Its shadow marked the rhythm of the street. But by the 1950s and 60s, the city wanted something sleeker, quieter, more modern. Section by section, it was dismantled. The sky opened up, the noise faded, and with it went a chapter of New York grit. But ask an old-timer and they'll tell you, they still hear it sometimes in their dreams. 5. The Electric Circus, where the 60s lost their mind. If the 1960s had a heartbeat in New York, it pulsed through the floorboards of the Electric Circus. Located on St. Mark's Place, this nightclub was less a venue and more an experience. Psychedelic light shows, avant-garde performers, smoke machines and blaring music turned every night into a sensory overload. The Velvet Underground played there. So did Sly and the Family Stone. It was trippy, raw, chaotic, and ahead of its time. By 1971, it closed, a victim of its own wild energy and the ever-changing cultural tide. But its spirit would ripple for decades through New York's underground scenes. It was a dream, a party, and a revolution, all packed into a single address.
The newspaper strike of 1962 to 63. The day New York went silent. New York is a city built on stories, headlines sold on street corners, newsboys shouting the latest drama. But from late 1962 to early 1963, the presses stopped cold. A massive labour strike silenced the Times, the Post, the Daily News, every major paper. For 114 days, newsstands stood empty. Gossip travelled slower. The city's pulse dimmed. When the newspapers finally returned, the media landscape was never quite the same. Television had stepped in, habits had shifted, and the daily paper, once a sacred ritual, lost some of its magic.
7. The Borched Belt, New York's lost vacation land. Before jet-setting to Miami or Cancun, New Yorkers escaped to the Catskills, an area lovingly nicknamed the Borched Belt. From the 1930s to the 60s, it was the summer playground for the city's working class, especially Jewish families. Think sprawling resorts, dance halls, swimming pools, comedy acts, and buffet lines that went on forever. Comedians like Mel Brooks and Joan Rivers cut their teeth here. But by the 1980s, it was all but gone. Air travel became affordable, and people wanted beaches, not bungalows. Today, many of the grand resorts sit in eerie ruin, nature slowly taking back what was once filled with laughter. 8. The Meatpacking District, from grit to Gucci. Once upon a time, the Meatpacking District lived up to its name, blood, grease, hooks and all. Over 200 meat-related businesses operated here in the mid-20th century. The streets were gritty, soaked in grime, and absolutely alive with industry. Glamour? Nowhere to be found. Then came the 1990s. One by one, the warehouses became clubs. The butcher shops gave way to designer boutiques, rooftop lounges, and art galleries. The bones are the same. The streets still wear the cobblestones of yesteryear. But the soul? That's a matter of opinion. 9. The original Soho, raw art before rent hikes. In the 1960s, Soho was not a shopping district. It was a wild west of creativity. Back then, it was filled with derelict factories and abandoned buildings. Artists moved in, often illegally, turning massive industrial lofts into studios and homes. They painted on concrete. They sculpted with scrap metal. They built a world of raw, rebellious energy. 10. The original Stonewall Inn, a riot that sparked a movement. It began with a raid, just another police crackdown on a gay bar. But the Stonewall Inn in 1969 became something different. The patrons fought back, the streets filled with protest, and from those nights came the modern LGBTQ+ rights movement. 11. The original Prospect Park. Brooklyn's wild garden rewritten. Prospect Park, Brooklyn's answer to Central Park, was once a wonderland of wild design. Created in the 1860s by Olmsted and Vaux, It featured intricate bridges, rustic shelters, winding trails, and a naturalistic landscape that felt untouched by time. 12. Times Square's record stores. Music in the air. Before streaming, before MP3s, and before YouTube, there was Times Square, a musical gold mine. From the 1950s to the early 80s, it was lined with record stores. Towering shelves of LPs, cassette tapes, posters, and bootlegs. Music blasted from every door. Collectors and fans came from all over to dig through bins for that rare jazz album or newest rock single. New York City in the mid-20th century wasn't always pretty. It was messy, it was noisy. You could grab dinner from a vending machine, hop an elevated train, then dance till dawn in a club that felt like another planet. They live on in old photographs, family stories, and maybe even in you. So, would you have wanted to live in that New York? Tell us in the comments. And if this video stirred something in you, if it brought back a forgotten feeling or made you see the city in a new light, leave a like, share it with someone nostalgic, and subscribe to the American Rewind, because some things are too good to forget.